Okay, so we are going to start our second topic here. Lesson 6, creating user's account in an Active Directory. So let's follow this video, and then after this we will discuss. Okay.
In this lesson, we're going to go ahead and take a look at how to add or create users in our Active Directory for our domain. So what I'll need to do is click on Start. I'm going to go ahead and go to the Administrative Tools, and we're going to choose Active Directory Users and Computers. Now after it comes up, we're going to go ahead and expand our domain. You're going to see a couple of different things. I'm going to point some out for you. One of them is the computers. This is called an organizational unit. The computers organizational unit currently has nothing in it, but as we add client computers or workstations to my domain, you're going to start seeing this populate with all the computers that are part of my domain. I'm going to also click on the domain controllers, which is going to list any domain controllers that we have in our domain. You can see I've currently got the only one I've got set up at the moment. We're going to also focus here on the users organizational unit, and you can see there's only one real user that's being used, the administrator of our account. The other ones here are groups, with the exception of guest, which guest is currently deactivated, and so this is not currently live or enabled. So what we're going to need to do to start with is I want to create another account just as a backup to be an administrator. So what I want to do is right click on the administrative account, and I'm going to go ahead and choose copy. And we're going to go ahead and give our first user a name. And you can use any naming scheme you want. I'm just going to call him user, and the login name is kind of what's the most important here. I'm going to call this first login name is just user1. Let's go ahead and put first name as user1 as well. And that's going to be my login name for this first user. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And I'm going to need to type in a password. Again, this password is going to have the same complexity requirements that the password had when we had to set the administrative account. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a password that's going to have at least a capital letter, a symbol, a lowercase letter, or a number, 3 of those 4 things, and at least 8 characters long. And we have the option now to also make it so that the first time this user logs in, they have to change their password. I can make it so that the password never expires, or they cannot change their password, or they count as disabled by default. I'm going to go ahead and leave all of those unchecked for now. Just go ahead and hit next and finish. And I want to show you what happens when we copy the user. If I double click on the administrative account, or you can right click and choose properties, I want you to notice what gives the administrative account all of its power is basically the groups that it belongs to. These groups here are security groups that are set up that give permissions for the administrative account. You can see there's several different groups here that are created. If I take a look at my copied user, which is user1, and I double click on this user, you're going to notice if you go to the member of, he's a member of the same groups as the administrative account, which makes him or gives this user all the power that he has as the administrative account. And so that is how to set up a user, or at least to copy a user. I also want to show you how to create a brand new user from scratch. You can use the little icon up here, or you can just right click and choose new user. This is going to go ahead and create for us. I'm going to go ahead and type in user2. And I'm going to use the login name user2. We're going to go ahead and hit next. I'm going to go ahead and type in the password for the user2. And again, we can choose whether or not the user has to change the password at the next login or not. I'm going to uncheck that for now. I'm going to go ahead and hit next and finish. The big difference between this user is if I double click this user and go to their member of, you're going to see that they're only a member of domain users group, meaning that this user belongs to the domain, and those are the only permissions he'd have, domain users. And so this is nowhere near as powerful of a user as the copied administrative account. And so this is typically what you're going to use to create new users for your account. If you do need an administrative user, you can definitely right click and copy on the administrator and give the person full administrative rights. And you can mess around with the different groups and determine which rights or privileges they should have. So this is creating users within the Active Directory on our domain controller. Domain, you're going to start seeing this populate with all the computers that are part of my domain.
Okay, so let us discuss yung creating users in an Active Directory. So first things first, we have to go to admin tools, and then after admin tools, we will click Active Directory users and computers. Okay, so again, that is on active tools, admin tools, and then users and computers tayo. Okay, here Active Directory users and computers. Okay, here. Okay, display, and then on the network we click computers. Okay, so for the meantime wala pa siyang laman. Then after that we will click after computers, we will click yung, I think it's domain controllers, meron isa. And then after domain controllers and computer, we will click the folder or the group users here. Okay. Okay, so these are the users, different users. Okay. And after this, we will create na po yung users. Okay, so what happened here is nag-click po nung isang account which is an administrator, right click and then copy to create a new user, and then put the details, first name, last name, full name, user log on name, ito yung username natin, and then after the username, yung password, po. So here in the example, ginawa niya, nag-type siya yung username na user1, and then after user1, we have to type yung password. Ito. Okay, here. Then confirm password. Okay, so here's the password, confirm password, and then after this, we can check some options. Pero kadalasan, kiniklik lang ko yung next and then finish. So here is user 1 aside from administrator. Okay, so yung structure ng user 1, dahil copy tayo, hindi administrator, hindi laman ni user 1. Okay, so next po, after user 1, okay, here's the properties of user 1, almost the same to computers. User 1. Then here in the example, nag-create pa po ng isang user. So kung magka-copy is yung kanina nag-copy po. So ngayon, pwede po tayo mag-create ng new and then user. So hindi na tayo nag-copy, baka ni bago. Okay, so the same thing, create yung details, and then I think yung user logon name here is yung user 2. Then next, then put the password and then confirmation of the password. Okay, dito may isang check, so uncheck natin yan. So dapat meron siyang check, check and then select, so okay siya. Okay, so next, after creating the second user account, okay, user 2 account, okay, here, this one, kinilik na yung okay, and sumbaga dito, no, just click lang yung okay, it's okay na siya. Okay, and we're done. So we have user 1 and user 2. So to recap, in order to create a new user, we go to admin tools and then computers and users, and then from there we can create our own username by copying a certain user or creating it by scratch. Okay, so next po, aside from creating a new user in our network operating system, okay, we have here yung next topic, which is okay, which is security and network policies. So let's check this out. Play this, and then I'll try to explain later. Okay, let's go to YouTube. Okay, I will recopy it again. So that's security and network policies. Security. Security and network policies. We have G25 here. So let's watch it first.
Every organization needs to have a security policy. This is the document that details exactly how your organization and its data are to be secured. Every company has a set of business requirements, and those business requirements need to be translated into the security policy that will be used by your organization. There are many different areas of security that are covered by this security policy, everything from physical security to data security, and even how your information for HR will be handled as people are brought on board and people are off-boarded. These security policies also contain monitoring consents and other information to make people aware of what security is in place. In many countries, the business can monitor everything the users are doing. In some countries, the businesses are not allowed to look at any of this information. So these policies should be well documented, especially those associated with the monitoring of the data coming from the users. A network policy is one that describes how people are to use the network. Every organization is a little bit different in their philosophy around what is acceptable on a network and what is not. This is often closely tied to the security policy, of course, because there are a lot of links between how people are using the network and the security of our data. Network policies might also include things like acceptable use policies, where you are clearly documenting what is acceptable on this network and what is not acceptable on this network. And it is well documented and very detailed with exactly what is allowed and what is not. In some cases, organizations require that someone sign or validate this acceptable use policy before they're even granted access to the network. Security policies and network policies are important internal documents, but if you're working with a third party, there are a number of agreements that have to be used. One might be a service level agreement. One of these agreements might be a service level agreement. If you're acquiring services from a third party, you need to document exactly what level of service you're expecting. If this is a wide area network provider, then you're expecting a certain amount of uptime and a certain amount of throughput. And if those standards aren't met, the service level agreement needs to detail what the penalties might be to the service provider for not meeting these minimum service level agreements. A more informal document might be a memorandum of understanding, or an MOU. This is an informal letter of intent. It has no signatures associated with it, but it might have information that describes the confidentiality of a particular agreement. Another important agreement is a master service agreement, or an MSA. This is very useful if you have not just one project going on, but multiple projects with a third party. You can create this umbrella agreement that's going to have contractual terms and any other types of service level agreements that will apply to all of these different projects. A very detailed agreement is something like a statement of work, or an SOW. A statement of work is a very detailed and itemized list of what is expected to be done when services are rendered. This is often paired with a master service agreement so that you can have an umbrella agreement of minimum terms and a statement of work that provides some detailed information of the services.
Okay, so that's our video.
That someone sign or validate.
So let me discuss this security and network policies. So every company must have some policies, especially when it comes to security, because in a network there are several client computers that are trying to access our server computer, which is our main source of data or file. Okay, so who need policies? Of course, companies, different companies who need security policies. Again, the same thing. Companies. Okay. So, what are network policies? Okay. So network policies are the protocols, okay, that governs network users. When we say protocols, these are house rules that should be followed. Okay. And then another description of network policies. These are well documented, okay, policies, okay, or rules, okay, for network computers to abide or follow. And then for network access also, okay. And then aside from that, network policies involves common agreements from the company, and then also from the its users of the network. Okay. So the types of common agreements, we have SLA or service level agreement. Okay. And then we have memorandum of understanding, which is an informal letter of intent. And then we have also the MSA or Master Service Agreement. Okay, a contract or agreement terms, or with agreement terms. And we have the SOW or Statement of Work. Okay. Those are the common agreements under network or security policies. Okay. And now it's time for our last topic for today, for this week. We have peer-to-peer network setup. Okay, so let's type that. Peer-to-peer network setup. Okay, and then duration is 240, which is this one. Let's watch this first, and then I will try to explain.
Network is speed. Cat 5. Computer 1. Bring over here. Plug it into computer 2. Peer-to-peer network. Go to your file explorer. Go to network. And right click, it's going to come down with this dropping back. Right click it and open up the network settings. Change advanced stream settings and make sure that on both computers that your network discovery and your file and printer sharing is turned on. And also make sure that your public folder sharing is also on. And be sure to save the changes. It's currently come over here to computer 2 and turn the settings on. With this one, none of the settings were prior to this video is on, so you can right click, turn on that discovery file sharing. See the two
Okay, so let's try to see the different steps of peer-to-peer or P2P. So peer-to-peer networking setup, ito yung from one end ng LAN cable to another end. So usually these are two devices connected to each other, whether it's PC to PC or PC to printer. Okay, so that's peer-to-peer. Okay, so you put the LAN cable on one side or one endpoint of the computer, and then on the other end of the LAN cable to the other computer. Okay, so that is on one LAN port to another LAN port. Okay. Then once you have inserted those LAN cables to those two computers, we will go to the one computer and then turn on network discovery. Okay, so here he goes to the file explorer and then he goes to network. Okay, network ito. And then from network, there will be a prompt here. Okay, and then we will right click that. Then after right clicking that, we will open network sharing. Okay, open network and sharing center. Click that. Second one, and then change advanced sharing settings. Okay, then from there, we will make sure that we have chosen three options. Okay, first option would be turn on network discovery, so that should be selected, and then turn on file and printer sharing. Okay, then after that we will click the connect button. Okay, and then after that we will choose turn on sharing, so anyone will with network access can read and write files in public folders. So we will click that public folders and file sharing connections also. Okay, so those are things that we should enable or select. Then after that, our network will identify what we have chosen. Public network sharing, printing sharing, and then network discovery. Okay, and after identifying those network certainties, we can test it now. Okay, whether we have a peer-to-peer connection. So we can go to our network and then we click work group. In the work group, we can click the public, let us say music or documents. In our example, it clicks public document. Okay, this is the other side of the computer. Just also go to network sharing center, and then from network, we also right click. You can drop down here, then just click yes, turn on. Then we can test it now. Okay, here are the two computers connected to each other. Okay, so we can click on the public folder. Here we have user public document. From public document, he created a new folder, which is, I think the folder name is new folder, okay, or P2P. From P2P, he created a new file which is back to you, and then he accessed it on the other computer, and it was successful. When going to the other computer, he has copied the file back to you. So that is how P2P or peer-to-peer works. Again, peer-to-peer is just the connections of two devices using a LAN cable, whether it's a PC to PC or PC to a printer or a PC to another device. And in Windows 7 or Windows 10, in order for P2P to work, you must turn on network discovery, you must turn on file and printer sharing, and most importantly, we must turn on public documents. And then after that, basically we can create some folders or files from where the other computer can access. And from that other computer, I can also create or access files at will because of public folders, okay, options. That's it. It's our last lesson. So thanks for today, and wait for your asynchronous activities